Over 100 bullets. Broad daylight, Chicago street corner. And somehow, a baby sitting in the back seat holding a lollipop walked away without a scratch. But the baby's mother, 26-year-old Gabrielle Ays, didn't make it. Let me tell you something. This wasn't random. This wasn't an accident. This was an execution. And Gabrielle, she wasn't even supposed to be the one to die. Welcome to Crime and Humanity. Every crime is a human act, shaped by choice, circumstance, and consequence. Crime and humanity are deeply intertwined, and here we explore real cases by looking beyond the act itself, focusing on the people involved and the lives forever changed. We don't just examine crime. Subscribe and turn on notifications as we examine what it reveals about being human. Gabrielle Ays was 26 years old. She owned and operated her own salon in Chicago, spending her days making people feel good about themselves. Her clients didn't just come to her for her skills. They came because she had heart. She was building something real, something stable for herself, and for the one person who mattered most to her, her baby. A year before everything happened, Gabrielle was posting pictures of her baby bump online. There were photos from her baby shower. Friends, family, everyone gathered around celebrating the life she was about to bring into the world. She was glowing. Being a mother wasn't just part of who she was. It was everything. That child became the center of her universe. People who knew Gabrielle described her as hardworking, dedicated, kind. She wasn't in the streets. She wasn't caught up in drama or beefs or gang activity. She was focused on her business, her baby, her future. A woman trying to do right and live quiet. That's who Gabrielle was. Now, Chicago. Let's talk about Chicago for a second, because you need to understand the environment we're dealing with here. The city has one of the highest violent crime rates among major cities in America. Shootings, homicides, retaliatory attacks. It's relentless. And in neighborhoods like Auburn Gresham, where this happened, violence doesn't always stay between the people involved. It spills over. Innocent people get caught in it. Families get destroyed. Children grow up with trauma they never asked for. On this particular day, Gabrielle was sitting in a car with her child's father, behind the wheel and her baby in the back seat. Just an ordinary moment. Nothing out of the ordinary. But what investigators later determined was this. The intended target wasn't Gabrielle. It was the child's father. And that matters because Gabrielle had no reason to think she was in danger. She wasn't the one with enemies. She wasn't the one someone wanted dead. But when you're in a car with someone who's been marked and gunmen pull up, ready to kill, it doesn't matter who you are. The bullets don't ask questions. They don't check IDs. They just tear through metal and glass and flesh. And whoever's in the way pays the price. Gabryel Ayres was in the way, and she paid for it with her life. It was around 1:30 in the afternoon, 79th and May Street in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood. Middle of the day, people out, traffic moving, life happening all around. Gabrielle was sitting in the front seat of a white Chevy sedan. Her child's father was behind the wheel and in the back. Seat, strapped into a car seat, was their baby, not even a year old yet, holding a lollipop. Then 3 men appeared. They ran up to the car with long guns in their hands and they opened fire. The sound was deafening. Round after round after round, tearing into the vehicle, glass shattering, metal ripping. The baby's father tried to drive, tried to get them out of there, but the bullets kept coming. Gabrielle was hit multiple times. The father was hit too. The car lurched forward and crashed into a van parked nearby. But here's the thing that makes this even more disturbing. The shooters didn't just fire and leave. They ran back to a red Alfa Romeo that was waiting for them, got inside, and then circled back around. They pulled up in front of the white Chevy, the same car they just riddled with bullets, and they fired again. More rounds, more destruction. Like the first attack wasn't enough. A witness who was driving home from work saw the whole thing unfold. They watched 3 men with guns run up on that vehicle and let loose. They heard the shots, dozens of them, maybe more. And when the shooting finally stopped and the red car sped away, this witness rushed over to help. What they found was horror. A man bleeding, a woman bleeding worse, and in the back seat, a baby crying, still holding that lollipop, somehow untouched by the chaos that had just torn through the car around them. Ain't going to lie, that baby surviving is nothing short of a miracle. Over 100 bullets fired into that vehicle, shell casings all over the street, the car looking like it had been through a war zone. And that child didn't have a scratch on them, but Gabrielle, she'd been struck multiple times. Emergency responders arrived and rushed her to the hospital, but the damage was too severe. She didn't make it. 26 years old, a mother, a business owner, a woman with her whole life ahead of her, gone. Her child's father survived his injuries. He was hospitalized, expected to recover, physically. But how do you recover from watching the mother of your child die right next to you? How do you live with the fact that you were the target and she paid the price? When police arrived at the scene, 79th Street looked like a battlefield. Officers marked shell casing after shell casing, evidence of just how many rounds had been fired. The white Chevy was destroyed, windows blown out, bullet holes everywhere. The van it had crashed into sat there, its driver shaken, but physically fine. Just another innocent person caught in the middle of someone else's violence. Investigators started piecing together what happened. At least 3 shooters, long guns, not handguns. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing. This was planned. This was targeted. And the target, they determined, was the 27-year-old man behind the wheel, Gabrielle's child's father. The community was shaken. Father Flager from St. Sabina Church, just steps away from where the shooting happened, was at the scene shortly after. He saw the aftermath. He saw the shell casings. He saw what this violence had done, and he said what a lot of people were thinking.
Somebody needs to be held accountable, and if anybody knows who did that, I think we got some really good shots off the cameras on the buildings over there. They just want them caught.
Cell phone video captured the entire attack. A person who happened to be in the area recorded the moment those 3 men ran up with guns, the moment they opened fire, the moment they got into that red Alfa Romeo and came back to shoot again. That video was handed over to police. It was evidence. It was proof. It showed exactly what happened and exactly how brutal it was. But despite the video, despite the witnesses, despite the shell casings, and the devastation left behind, no arrests were made in the immediate aftermath. The shooters got away. They unleashed over 100 rounds in broad daylight, killed a young mother, nearly killed a father, traumatized a baby, and an entire community. And they walked. One witness at the scene said it plainly.
What's the purpose of shooting at a car when you know there's a child in the car? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it could be a lot of other people who's lost their life here today.
Another person speaking about the baby said,
Thank God that baby is so young that probably won't remember this day, but that baby's going to know that their mother was killed today. That baby could have been killed.
That baby could have been killed. And that's the reality. That baby survived. Yes, but survival isn't the same as being okay. That child will grow up knowing their mother was taken from them in violence. They'll grow up carrying a weight they never should have had to bear. And for what? Because someone wanted revenge on their father? Because someone had a problem that had nothing to do with Gabrielle? Make it make sense because it doesn't.
From all indications, there were multiple shooters who fired dozens of shots, perhaps more than 50. Remarkably, all of those bullets missed a baby who was sitting in the car that was targeted.
Investigators remained at the scene well after nightfall at this corner littered with shell casings, where somehow a baby in this bullet-riddled car emerged unscathed.
What's the purpose of shooting at a car when you know there's a child in the car? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it could be a lot of other people who's lost their life here today.
Kirk Bell is the godfather of 26-year-old Gabryel Ayres, who relatives identify as the woman who was shot and killed in her white Chevy sedan around 1:30 p.m. at 79th and May Street, her car then crashing into a van.
This here is unbelievable. This young lady was a beautiful young lady with a beautiful child, and life just cut short. For what?
Ayres' boyfriend in the car also shot multiple times, but her 13-month-old baby daughter, who was sitting in the back, escaped unhurt.
It's a miracle that that baby was not shot. It's a miracle.
St. Sabina Church is around the block from where the gunfire erupted, and the church's food pantry is on that corner. People inside hiding in a back room, and after the gunfire, emerged to help the victims.
So they saw, the young man and the woman shot up in the car as they were trying to get the baby out. But they gave the baby immediately to the police, and the policewoman took it in her car and was holding it.
They need to clean this city up. They need to. This gangs and the shooting and the killing is just unbelievable.
Gabrielle Ayres' mother tells me her daughter worked as a hairstylist and was training to be a letter carrier. Police have not offered a motive for the shooting.
As of the initial coverage of this case, no arrests had been made. The 3 gunmen who walked up to that car in broad daylight, who fired over 100 rounds, who killed Gabryel Ayres and nearly killed 2 others. They were still out there free walking around living their lives while a family mourned and a baby grew up without a mother. There was video evidence, there were witnesses, there were shell casings everywhere, and a community demanding answers. But justice that hadn't come yet. Gabrielle Ays should still be here. She should be in her salon right now doing hair, talking to clients, making people feel good. She should be home with her baby, watching them grow, teaching them to walk and talk and laugh. She should be celebrating birthdays and holidays and all the little moments that make life worth living. But she's not, because on one afternoon in Chicago, violence didn't care who was in the way. This is what we're dealing with. This is the reality in too many communities across this country, but especially in Chicago. Gun violence has become so common, so relentless, that stories like Gabrielle's barely make headlines anymore. Another shooting, another life lost, another family destroyed. And people just keep scrolling, but every single one of these cases is somebody's mother, somebody's daughter, somebody's sister, somebody's friend. Gabrielle wasn't a statistic. She was a person. She had dreams. She had a business. She had a child who needed her. And now that child has to grow up knowing their mama was taken from them before they were even old enough to remember her face. How did we get here? How did we get to a place where 3 men can unload a 100 bullets on a street corner in the middle of the day and just drive away? Where a baby can sit in a car holding a lollipop while gunfire tears through everything around them? Where the wrong person dies because they happen to be sitting next to the right target? It is what it is, but it shouldn't be. This shouldn't be normal. This shouldn't be something we just accept and move on from. Gabrielle's son survived that day, and people called it a miracle, and it was. But let's be real, that baby lost their mother. They'll grow up with trauma embedded in their story from day one. They'll have questions that don't have good answers. They'll feel an absence they can't fully understand. That's not a happy ending. That's a wound that doesn't heal. The community showed up for Gabrielle. People spoke out. Father Flagger demanded accountability. Witnesses came forward, but words and demands don't bring someone back. They don't stop the next shooting. They don't protect the next innocent person caught in the crossfire. Gabrielle Ayres mattered. Her life mattered. Her love for her child mattered. The future she was building mattered. And her story deserves to be told, not just as another case file or another news segment, but as a reminder of what we keep losing when we let violence go unchecked. Rest in peace, Gabrielle Ayres, gone too soon, taken for nothing, but never forgotten. If this story affected you, hit that subscribe button and join the Crime and Humanity family. We're shining light on the cases that don't get enough attention. The domestic violence, the relationship murders, the victims who deserved better. Drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts. And remember, every story we tell is someone's real life, someone's real loss. Treat it with respect. We'll see you in the next